There's a reason the world grows quiet when a woman walks into a room, not for how she looks, but for something deeper, something primal, something that cannot be named. Because the world can tolerate a woman who is beautiful. It can tolerate a woman who is clever. It can even tolerate a woman who is successful. As long as her smile remains polite, her voice remains gentle, and her edges remain smooth. But the world, this world we've built of rules and roles and careful masks, trembles at the sight of a woman who knows herself. Tell me, have you ever felt it in your bones, that silent resistance pressing against you the moment you stopped performing and simply stood in your truth? Have you ever watched how people shift uncomfortably when your eyes hold no apology? Has there been a moment, perhaps fleeting, perhaps lasting only the span of a single breath, when you felt completely, irrevocably yourself, and sensed that the air around you had changed? This is why history writes powerful women into legends, dresses them in the glow of myth, distances them just enough so we can worship them, but never resemble them. Because a woman who knows herself is a dangerous thing. Not dangerous because she harms, but because she sees. Because she cannot be bought. Because she cannot be molded into shapes that do not fit the contours of her soul. And because she reminds the rest of us painfully that we, too, are living only fractions of our truth. It's not your beauty the world fears. It's your presence. It's not your ambition the world resists. It's the holy fire behind your eyes when you say, no more. The world fears the woman who dares to descend into herself, to gather up her shadows and her light and return whole. Because once you know who you are, truly, no one can tell you who to be. This is not self-help. This is not confidence coaching. This is ancient. This is alchemical. This is Jung. Carl Jung once said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And nothing frightens the world more than a woman who claims that privilege and refuses to give it back. So the question is, will you keep hiding, or will you become the woman the world secretly hopes you'll never become? So let us speak of the psychology beneath this fear, of why society trembles at the thought of a woman who knows herself, of why your silence was never really about keeping the peace, but about keeping your power small enough to manage. Jung devoted his life to mapping the underworld of the human soul. He spoke of a hidden terrain beneath the persona we show the world, a place where darkness lives, yes, but also radiance. He called it the unconscious. A cathedral of memories, instincts, and symbols older than language itself. And within that unconscious lies what he named the shadow. Most people think the shadow is evil, our flaws, our rage, our secrets. But Jung taught that the shadow is simply the part of you you've exiled. The truths you were told were unacceptable. The brilliance that made others uncomfortable. The hunger for freedom, for passion, for your own voice. Your shadow contains not just wounds, but gifts. Because in the places you've disowned yourself, your greatest power waits, patient as a lioness in tall grass. Society has always known this, which is why, across centuries, across continents, across empires, laws, religions, customs have been shaped to mold womanhood into something small, polite, contained. Because a woman connected to her shadow, a woman who integrates her darkness with her light, becomes impossible to control. She no longer waits for permission. She no longer performs to be chosen. She becomes sovereign. And a sovereign woman is the rarest thing in the world. She is dangerous, not because she destroys, but because she creates. She creates new narratives, new definitions of power, new versions of love. Jung saw woman as the vessel of transformation, not just for herself, but for the world. He spoke of archetypes, ancient blueprints in the psyche, the wise woman, the warrior, the lover, the creator, the priestess, the mother, the queen. Each of these lives in you, each demands a seat at your table, each refuses to remain silent in the shadows. And it terrifies society to imagine you waking up one day and realizing you are not just one thing. You are multitudes. Because a woman who embodies all her archetypes cannot be simplified, cannot be reduced to a single role, cannot be owned. This is why the world tries to shrink you into tropes, into stereotypes, into predictable patterns. Be nurturing, be pretty, be quiet, be fierce, but not too fierce. Be ambitious, but not intimidating. It's all a performance demanded to keep you fragmented, to keep you at war with yourself. Because as long as you're fighting your own depth, you'll never turn that power outward to change the world. But Jung taught that individuation, the sacred path of becoming whole, is your birthright. That wholeness is not perfection, it's integration. It's the union of contradictions, the marriage of the conscious and the unconscious, the light and the shadow, the soft and the ferocious. A woman who has undertaken this journey ceases to look outward for validation. She radiates a quiet authority that makes the air vibrate around her. And so the world fears her. Because such a woman cannot be marketed to. She cannot be guilted or shamed into smallness. She becomes, quite simply, free. And nothing is more subversive than a free woman who knows herself and loves all she finds there. So if you've ever felt that you are too much or not enough, if you've been praised for being easygoing while a storm rages under your skin, if you've wondered why your moments of greatest truth made people back away, know this: it was never your darkness that made them afraid. It was your light. The world does not fear a woman's flaws. It fears her wholeness. Because a woman who knows herself cannot be predicted, and she cannot be controlled. If this is resonating, if it feels like I'm speaking something you've known all along, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Not because I need it, but because this space, it's for women like you. So let us enter the heart of this journey. Let us speak of the woman who decides to stop being desired and instead becomes unforgettable. There comes a moment, it may be quiet as a breath, or violent as thunder splitting open the sky, when a woman grows tired of pretending, tired of shrinking, tired of trimming herself down to fit the contours of someone else's comfort. And in that moment, she turns inward. She descends, not because she wishes to leave the world, but because she wishes to finally arrive in it, whole. This descent is not a fall, it is a pilgrimage, down into the labyrinth of her own soul, where echoes of ancient goddesses whisper through the dark. And here, she meets her shadow. Jung said the shadow is everything you have refused to be. But what if everything you have refused to be is precisely the key to your radiance? Tell me, have you ever felt rage ripple through you and silenced it because it wasn't ladylike? Have you ever felt your own sexual energy blaze like wildfire and locked it away because it frightened you? Have you ever felt an ancient knowing inside you? A voice that says, "This is who I am," and dismissed it as foolish, or dangerous, or too much? This is your shadow speaking. This is your buried treasure. Society will call your rage hysterical. It will call your passion sinful. It will call your truth inconvenient. Because if you unleashed all of that, if you embraced your shadow and let her walk beside you in daylight, you would be unstoppable. And so the world whispers to you, be smaller, be sweeter, be quieter, smile, but something in you refuses, something wild, something holy. The same something that made the priestesses of Delphi speak in riddles no man could decipher. The same something that made women across centuries rise from ashes again and again, refusing to disappear. You see, the woman who knows herself does not eradicate her shadows. She integrates them. She claims every lost piece of herself, the fierce, the sensual, the wise, the cunning, and weaves them into the tapestry of her being. This is why Jung called individuation a sacred task, because it demands that you look into your own darkness and love what you find there. Imagine a woman standing in a storm, hair soaked, eyes shining like obsidian. She does not curse the rain. She does not flee the lightning. She lets it baptize her. She knows that storms do not come to destroy her, they come to reveal her. This is the essence of feminine power. Not perfection, but presence. Not serenity without pain, but serenity forged through the fire of facing everything she is. Can you feel it? The weight of your own unspoken truths? The brilliance simmering just beneath your practiced calm? You were never meant to be one thing. You are the wise woman who sees beyond appearances. The warrior who defends what matters. The lover whose touch awakens worlds. The creator who births new realities. The priestess who stands at the threshold between seen and unseen. The mother who nurtures life in 1,000 forms. The queen who reigns with dignity and unshakable poise. All of these live in you. All of these are you. And this is precisely why the world grows uneasy in your presence. Because a woman who knows herself cannot be placed in a box. She cannot be labeled. She cannot be weaponized against herself. The world fears her because she is emotionally sovereign, because she cannot be manipulated with praise or shame, because she speaks the truth, even when her voice trembles, because her happiness is no longer a hostage to anyone else's expectations. Think of the ancient temples where women gathered under moonlight. Think of how the world has tried again and again to silence such gatherings. Why? Because women together become mirrors. Because when you see another woman claim her shadow, something inside you stirs awake. You remember. You remember that your softness and your ferocity were never enemies, that your desire is holy, that your voice matters, and most dangerous of all, you remember that you have always belonged to yourself. This is why the stories of powerful women are told like legends, distant, untouchable. Because if you believed they were like you, if you believed their power was simply the fruit of claiming their entire selves, you might dare to do the same. And the world would change overnight. Because a woman who has integrated her shadow cannot be seduced by shallow praise. She does not measure her worth by who stays or who leaves. She does not dilute her magic to be digestible. She becomes the storm, the ocean, the wildfire, the quiet dawn that changes everything. Do you feel it now? That trembling just beneath your skin? It is not fear, it is recognition. It is the part of you that knows you were never meant to live a life of compromise. The part that whispers, you are meant for something more, not more accomplishments, not more applause, more truth, more embodiment, more presence. Because the woman who knows herself is not chasing the world's approval. She is chasing herself. She is a hunter of her own mysteries. She is devoted to knowing what lies in the forgotten corridors of her being, even if it terrifies her, even if it costs her comfort, even if it means she must become a stranger to those who once adored the smaller version of who she used to be. Tell me, have you ever mourned the woman you once were, even as you felt your new self rising from the ashes? Have you ever grieved friendships, lovers, identities, because they could not follow you where you were going? This is the crucible of transformation. Jung spoke of it as a process of death and rebirth, because every step toward individuation demands a sacrifice, the sacrifice of illusions, the sacrifice of who you thought you should be, the sacrifice of safety for the sake of truth. And the world will tell you that this is selfish, that you are too sensitive, too complicated, too intense. But let me tell you a secret. Your complexity is your crown. Your depth is your radiance. The very qualities they accuse you of being too much for are the same qualities that make you unforgettable. A woman who has walked into her shadow and emerged carrying her own light becomes a creature apart. She speaks less, yet says more. She listens, yet misses nothing. She can hold both grief and ecstasy in the same breath. And she knows that softness is not weakness, but the ultimate form of strength. Look around you. So many women are exhausted, not because they are weak, but because they are living lives that do not fit the shape of their souls. Performing instead of embodying, pleasing instead of being, smiling while dying a slow death beneath the mask. But the woman who knows herself, she stops apologizing, she stops explaining, she learns the sacred art of saying, "This is who I am." No justification, no permission slip, no performance. She begins to stand taller, to move differently, to look into the eyes of the world without flinching. Because she knows, nothing outside of her can grant her peace. Nothing outside of her can steal her power. Her center is within, and the world cannot reach it. There's a reason societies have burned, exiled, and slandered women who dared to claim this truth. Because such women are dangerous to systems built on obedience and silence. A woman who knows herself asks dangerous questions. Why should I shrink? Why should I tolerate disrespect? Why should I pretend I don't know what I know? Why should I remain in a cage simply because it is familiar? These questions are revolutionary, because they threaten to tear down every structure built to keep you small. The woman who knows herself does not wait for the world to crown her. She places the crown on her own head. And once she does, there is no going back. She may still feel fear. She may still weep some nights, but she is no longer willing to betray herself for the comfort of others. Her radiance comes not from the absence of pain, but from the presence of truth. She glows because she has chosen herself over and over, even when it cost her everything familiar. This is why the world fears her, Because a woman who knows herself is unpredictable. She cannot be seduced by shallow promises. She cannot be enslaved by her own insecurities. She cannot be guilted into playing small. She becomes a sovereign field of gravity. People feel her presence like a change in barometric pressure. Animals notice her. Children stare in wonder. And even those who resent her cannot deny the pull of her authenticity. This is the woman who has become the wise woman, the warrior, the lover, the creator, the priestess, the mother, the queen, all at once. Because true power is multiplicity embraced. Because happiness is not a destination, but the inner resonance of living aligned with your own soul. So I ask you, what have you left in your shadow, waiting for your return? What parts of yourself are still in exile, aching to come home? What truth do you already know, but are afraid to speak out loud? This is the work, not the pursuit of perfection, not the performance of femininity, but the wild, holy work of becoming indivisible, of becoming who you truly are. Carl Jung called it the privilege of a lifetime. I call it the only revolution that matters, because when a woman knows herself, the world changes, not because she seeks to dominate it, but because her very presence reshapes the air around her. She becomes an oracle, a force of nature, a living reminder that freedom is not something granted, it is something claimed. So I ask you now, will you remain hidden in the safe corridors of the familiar, or will you step into the wild territory of your own truth and become the woman the world cannot forget? So here we are, at the edge of this ancient truth, at the threshold where your old self stands trembling, and your true self waits with outstretched arms. Hear me now. You were never meant to fit into cages built by fear. You were never meant to silence the music inside you so the world might stay comfortable. You are not here to be agreeable. You are not here to disappear beneath your own politeness. You are here to become whole. To stand in the center of your own existence and declare, I know who I am, and I will not leave myself ever again. This is the woman the world fears, and secretly the world aches for her too, because she reminds us all that freedom is possible, that truth is worth the cost, that beauty is not perfection, but authenticity shining through cracks and scars. The woman who knows herself transforms not only her own life, she transforms the world simply by existing. Her presence becomes a balm and a fire. Gentle, yet fierce, silent, yet thunderous. She speaks not only with words, but with the gravity of her being. Her laughter rings truer. Her eyes hold storms and sunlight in equal measure. Her love heals because it asks nothing but your truth in return. She is not a fantasy. She is not a myth. She is you. Under the masks, beneath the stories you've been told, behind the polite smile you've worn for too long, you have always been this woman, waiting for permission that was never necessary. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." I tell you this, the world fears the woman who claims that privilege, because such a woman cannot be moved by tides of opinion. She cannot be bribed with approval. She knows her worth is eternal, and her happiness is the quiet resonance of a soul in harmony with itself. So take a breath, feel your heartbeat. Listen to the silence that speaks louder than any voice you've ever heard. And remember, you are not too much. You have simply been waiting to remember your own magnitude. If this spoke to you, stay close. Subscribe. Because here, we don't hand out advice. We hand you the keys to the woman you've always been becoming. And may the world tremble for the day you finally choose to know yourself.